Are you competitive? I know I am, and when Debbie Beard, creator of DIY Paint, kind of issued a competition out to people about how much can 8 ounces of DIY paint cover, I knew I was in. So I went to the back of my garage for my hugest piece that I had to see if 8 ounces of DIY paint will cover. Stay tuned to the end of the video to see if it did and how this beautiful piece turned out. For this project, I'm going to be using DIY paint in Little Black Dress. DIY paint is a clay-based all-natural paint that is heavily pigmented and comes in a wide variety of colors. For any of the paint or products that I'm using here in this video today, you can shop online at shoptheturnedleg.com, or you can visit my booth at Plaza Antiques and Collectibles Mall in Lincoln Park, Michigan. This piece was huge, and just getting it out of my garage was quite a job, but I managed, and when I did, I realized it had been in my garage for quite a while and was quite filthy. And looking at the ginormous piece next to the tiny sample, I'm still not certain that's going to cover the entire piece. Are you? Although there's really no prep with DIY paint, if your piece is filthy, you might want to clean it. The product I like to use is called Awesome. I get it from my local dollar store. I spray it on straight and then just wipe clean. The next thing you want to do is to inspect your piece, and on this piece it used to have locked drawers that are no longer needed. So I'm going to pop those locks out because I don't have the key anyways, and I'm going to fill them in. And what I'm going to use is a little Titebond 2 glue and wood buttons, and then I will sand those down and hopefully you won't notice them. If you're new to this channel, please take a second to click that like button and subscribe at no cost to you. Also, if you click the bell, you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. It really helps me to continue to grow my channel to help others to salvage, repurpose, and create. Time to get painting this piece. When you're working outdoors, it's really important to not paint right in the sunshine. It'll dry your piece too quickly. Now let's take a look as I open this can of paint. We're going to do paint checks throughout the entire video, and you'll see exactly how much I've used at each step of the way. I'm also using the new DIY paintbrush, the Little Dipper. It was probably a good idea to use every last drop, so I started using the excess paint in the lid. Because it was so warm outside, the paint was almost drying as I painted it. DIY paint lightens as it dries. I'm also using my mister bottle, which is from the Turquoise Iris, the Water Girl Fine Mist spray bottle. Not only is it keeping the paint wet and easy to spread, but it's also diluting it. DIY paint is super pigmented paint, and you can actually water it down a little bit and still get good coverage. Now it was time to paint the back of the piece. I don't always paint the backs on my furniture, but this is an ultimate challenge, and I'm going to paint this entire desk, or at least try to, with an 8-ounce jar. Stay tuned to the end of the video to see if I'm successful. The back was done, and one side. Now it was time to paint the top, and the top needed a little bit of prep. DIY paint does not require prep, but this piece had some scratches and some areas that were a little bit rough. I wanted a smooth finish. I got out my orbital sander and my 220 grit sandpaper. I also sanded those drawers where I had filled the holes. After sanding, they needed a little bit more fill. I used spackle to fill in any of the uneven areas. I brushed away any of the sanding debris, and it was time to paint. I once again was painting using my Water Girl Fine Mist spray bottle to help dilute the paint. Working outside in the summertime really has its advantages. Everything dries faster, and those drawers with spackle were already dry and ready for paint. This is DIY paint after one coat of paint. The coverage is excellent, but as you can see, we're going to need a second coat. When working with DIY paint, because it's so heavily pigmented on the second coat, you also can use a little bit more water and you'll get a smoother finish and use less paint. And in this challenge, I'm going to need all the paint I can get. Now it was time to give everything on this desk a second coat of paint. I sure hope I have enough paint to complete this project. Remember, I'm only using an 8-ounce jar. While the paint was drying, I spent some time with our new puppy George. The next step was wax to seal my piece. Let me share with you a secret trick. If you want to have the darkest, most dramatic black furniture, use DIY black wax to finish it off. It'll deepen the color and just make it a little extra special. For more details on how to use wax on your pieces of furniture, you can click a link to the video above. For most pieces, you are going to need 2 coats of wax. You can apply it with a rag or a brush. I just put it on, let it dry, and apply the second coat. For the top of my pieces that I'm going to sell in my booth, I like to coat them with DIY Big Top. It is a liquid top coat, very durable, and makes the piece instantly ready to use. I'm going to apply 2 coats. To prep the top of my pieces for top coat, I like to sand them with a high grit sandpaper, 300 grit or higher, or even brown paper bag. Parchment paper will also work in a pinch. This will buff the clay paint and give you an extra smooth surface. Clear your surface with any residue from the buffing and then apply your Big Top in long, smooth strokes. Remember, you're going to need 2 coats. The piece is set overnight. I like to wait overnight to make sure to get a good dry on my wax. And now it's time to buff. And I'm going to use my buffing attachment for my drill. And now the big question, is there paint left in the DIY paint 8-ounce can? Yes, there is. In fact, I would say there's about 1/6 of the paint left in the can. If you enjoyed this 8-ounce challenge and want to see more, you can click the link to the playlist in the description box below. You can also search up the hashtag 8-ounce challenge. When this project first started, I had my doubts. I'm a DIY paint retailer and I paint with this all the time, but I really had no idea how far 8 ounces goes. DIY paint is a clay-based paint that's heavily pigmented, covers great, and you can water it down and still get great coverage. So happy with how this turned out and so happy to still have some paint left over. Thank you so much for watching. By the way, I'm sitting in my junk garden now, so if you like to junk like I do and you want to see more of my garden, you can check out all of my junk garden videos here. Now get out there to salvage, repurpose, and create, and maybe grab yourself a can of that 8-ounce DIY paint.